What's up, Sugar Bushes? I probably look like a fucking mess and I'm covered in cat hair. It's because I just woke up, but I need to film this and try to get it out today. I had the wildest dream yesterday. I had another wild dream tonight, and it was just like I was walking around this amusement park and I was just looking for my mom and I couldn't find her and I was crying because I couldn't find my mom. It was a whole thing. Don't want to talk about it. But today we are talking about serial killer Nanny Doss, or also known as the Giggling Grandma or the Lonely Hearts Killer. I don't know exactly what we're gonna do. We're definitely gonna use some color, like a color or two from this See You Later palette. I wonder how this awkward Murray would look with some black. Let's find out. Let's do a simple look and see if this. It's because it's like it reminds me of mermaids. It really does. It's a simple color. Let's see. Oh, I found my Milani palette. It was in my bag that I take to Oklahoma. I just never took it out. Beautiful. Perfect. Alright, let's get started. So, Nanny Doss was born Nanny Hazel in 1905 in Blue Mountain, Alabama, to a family of farmers. Now, her family was quite poor. She didn't attend school that much because her parents always expected her to help out on the farm, so she was rarely in school. Her parents were very strict, very abusive. Nanny dreamed of getting married and having children one day. She was very much the romantic type, but her father forbid her to date or see anybody, so, you know, it was all just a daydream now. And like I said, as most of our friends that we cover on this show do, oh yeah, this is Crime and Cosmetics, and I'm Snacks, in case you didn't know. Like most of our friends we cover on this show, she had a pretty fucked up childhood. She got into an accident on a train when she was like 7, and hit her head pretty hard and sustained a head injury, so that may be why she's kind of fucked up. Who knows? Head injuries do a lot to people. She was very, like I said, she was very much the romantic type. She wanted to get married. She wanted to have a family, you know, the whole shebang. That's what people did in the 1900s. They just got married and had kids for some reason and didn't do anything else. It's kind of heartbreaking. But anyways, she wants to be the old loving wife marriage type. She, at 16, meets a guy named Charlie Braggs, and after only 4 months of knowing each other, they get married and tie the knot. Black's kind of a staunch color to put this with. We'll blend it up and see how it looks. We'll put a little more on there. And from 1921 to 1927, they had 4 daughters. I don't know. I kind of like these two colors together. The black's a little, too out there to blend well with this color. I was blending it with this brush I haven't cleaned, and it had some purple on it, so it put some purple in the look, and I kind of like that. It kind of breaks up that contrast, which is what I want. Whatever. Tons of fallout from this one, though. Anyway, so them fucking weirdos have like 4 kids. During this time, Nanny and Charlie lived with Charlie's mother, and Charlie's mother was pretty abusive, just like Nanny's dad was. But in this case, Charlie was a mama's boy through and through. He always took his mom's side, no matter what was happening. If Nanny wasn't in the wrong and his mom was in the wrong, this, that, and the other, you know, he'd always be like, well, it's my mother. What do you want me to do about it? He always took his mom's side, and this drove Nanny insane because it's like she couldn't win an argument, she couldn't win at anything in the house because the mom was just always this controlling, abusive bitch. And then in 1927, Nanny's 2 middle daughters just suddenly die. They up and pass away, which was suspicious because they had been in perfect health, and they suddenly just poof, they're dead. Nah, everyone's like, that's a little weird, that's suspicious. In 1928, Nanny and Charlie divorced, so Charlie takes her oldest daughter, Malvina, and just skedaddles on out of town. Nanny is staying with the mother-in-law with her newborn baby. So after Nanny and old Charlie boy divorce, a year goes by before Nanny marries her second husband, Frank Harrelson, who was an alcoholic from Jacksonville, Florida. Good old Florida boys. And they met through personal ads. And if you're one of our younger viewers and you don't know what the personal ads are, they are basically Tinder for when we didn't have smartphones. So that's how people met each other. They would put out ads in the personal column of the paper, basically, hey, I'm a 23-year-old guy, just, you know, not a whole lot going on, looking for some gal to shag up with and hopefully marry. If you see this and you like what you see, fucking call me at this number. And that's how people met each other, through the newspaper. So Frank was pretty damn abusive, but their marriage lasted 16 years. That's a long time to hate somebody and not leave them. But during this time, Melvina supposedly had had a baby, and the birth for Melvina was very, very rough, very hard. You know, she was going in and out of consciousness the entire time. But she swears, and she absolutely swears, that during her birth, she watched her mother, Nanny, stab her newborn baby in the head with a hat pin and kill it. And then a few months after the newborn baby's death, Nanny's 2-year-old grandson, Robert, who was in Nanny's care at this time, dies of asphyxiation. Now, it should be noted that at the time that Nanny had a $500 life insurance policy taken out on Mr. Robert. $500 in 1945 was like $7,000 in today's money, the buying power at least. I covered this black up with another sparkly color because the black just stood out too much and I didn't like it, and it looks way better than it did before. Let's continue though. So on September 14th, 1945, Mr. Harrelson, Nanny's husband, gets blackout drunk and ends up beating the shit out of her. Well, she didn't like that, as she shouldn't, and she didn't put up with it, as she shouldn't. So, next day, on the 15th, she poisons his moonshine, and he dies. And people thought he died of food poisoning, which is kind of technically true. But Nanny also had a life insurance policy out on him, and she used that money to go buy a plot of land in good old Jacksonville, Florida. What, baby? Which, well deserved. Don't be a piece of shit and a fucking wife beater. Or a spouse beater. Don't put your hands on anyone that don't want your hands on them, okay? So next on the list, she marries Arlie Lanning, who is another lovely alcoholic she met in the personal ads. There used to be called the Lonely Hearts ads. That's where she got her name, the Lonely Hearts Killer. But yeah, you know, there's a pattern going on that she would find gentlemen through the old Lonely Hearts ads. But she meets this gentleman, Arlie Lanning, and end up shacking up, and he ends up dying. Surprise, surprise. In 1952. Doctors just assumed that his heavy drinking is what killed him, but it wasn't. Nanny had been poisoning him for months. Hey, what are you doing? You chasing your tail on that thing? So after Mr. Arlie died, I don't know what color I should do for the under eye. Stick with the blue. So after Mr. Arlie died, Nanny's house burns down, which is surprising. She's really back there chasing her tail. You're really going at it, ain't you? Yeah, you get that thing. Are you done? Are you done? Okay. I think so. All right. Her house burns down. And I'm going to go ahead and assume she had an insurance policy out on that thing. So she ends up moving in with her sister, whose name was Dovey, and they lived in North Carolina. And a couple months after Miss Nanny Doss has moved in with Dovey, Dovey dies under mysterious conditions. So that's fun. She's really out of here just fucking picking whoever she wants off. And nobody suspects her. She's a sweet little old lady. I don't know what color to use. Maybe the purple. Maybe the deep sea purple. We'll use that. But yeah, surprise, surprise, you know, Debbie dies. Her next husband was a man by the name of Richard Morton, who was from Emporia, Kansas. Now, we're sensing a pattern. They met through a dating service. We're sensing a pattern of Nanny just killing her husbands, and you would think Richard would be the next victim, but he wasn't. Nanny's mother broke her hip in 1953. At this point in time, Nanny's father was already dead, so Nanny went to go take care of her mother, and soon after Nanny's arrival, her mother died of mysterious conditions. Hey, baby, I know you want to be up here and I want you up here, but I gotta toss you down. I gotta do some makeup real quick. I gotta do this, so maybe I can pay bills one day and get you all the things you want. I love you. I love you. So whenever Miss Nanny returned home from taking care of her mother, she realizes and figures out that her husband has been cheating on her. And she is not happy about that, so a couple months after that happens, he dies. Wonder how that happened, probably poisoned. But again, no one says shit about this. No one is, like, questioning this at all. It's just, there's literally death in this woman's wake, and people are just like, crazy times we're living in, huh? This makeup look feels like a elementary schooler who doesn't know how to do their makeup is doing it, I feel. So her last husband and victim was Samuel Doss from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Represent. Now, Mr. Doss was not abusive. He didn't cheat on Nanny. What, baby? Wasn't abusive, didn't cheat on Nanny, but he did have the audacity to tell her she could only read and watch things that were educational. We're fucking blowing through this true crime, and I'm spending all the time on this face. Okay, hold on. She could only watch things that were educational, and Nanny was like, absolutely fucking not. I'm gonna watch Jerry Springer all day, every day, and that's what I'm gonna do. Just kidding, Jerry Springer wasn't out yet. This was in the 1950s. I'm gonna tell you, this look does not, this is not the move, Chief. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking putting all these colors together. Oh well, we're gonna finish her out strong. Like, no going back now. Oh well. Where was I? So she meets this young gentleman from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Samuel Doss. Doesn't beat the shit out of her, doesn't cheat on her, but he tells her she can only watch and read educational things. And that pisses Nanny off. So what does she do? She laces a prune cake with poison and feeds it to him. So she poisons him with the laced prune cake. He goes to the hospital and he starts getting better. He gets, like, a lot better. And so they're like, okay, you know, dude's getting better. Let's send him home. They send him home, and then Nanny poisons his coffee, and he dies. And now his doctor is now like, what the fuck? You know, he was just getting better. How does he go home and all of a sudden just fucking up and die? So he convinces Nanny to let him, the doctor convinces Nanny to let him do an autopsy on Samuel's body, which she ends up agreeing to. And when he does this autopsy, he finds a lethal amount of arsenic in Samuel's system. And the doctor's like, that's weird, that's suspicious. So after about a decade of fucking murder, her killing spree comes to an end. She also had 2 separate life insurance policies out on Samuel. Cannot find for how much they were, but probably a decent amount of money. So whenever someone asks you to take a life insurance policy out on yourself for them, or if they ask you if they can take a life insurance policy, the answer is always an astounding no. Nanny was arrested in 1954. She confessed to murdering her husbands. Now, she didn't confess to killing her family members, though. She would not confess to that, just the husbands. So, she confesses to killing her husband. She doesn't confess to killing her family members, though, which we know she did. So, the bodies are exhumed. They are all tested. The autopsy's done. A lot of them come back positive for traces of rat poison or arsenic. Rat poison is such a shitty way to die. It can cause you to internally bleed, fucking bleed from the gums, bleed from the mouth. You'll go into, like cardiovascular problems. Your fucking liver will fail. It's a whole thing that getting poisoned with rat poison sounds god-awful. You gotta be a real sadistic motherfucker to poison somebody with rat poison. So she was suspected of killing 12 people, most of them family members, even though she didn't confess to the family member killings. One can only assume. So she got the name Giggling Granny because every time she talked about the murders of her husbands, she laughed. She told them with great glee and would always be laughing through the entire ordeal, so she got the nickname Giggling Granny. Despite the insurance payouts that she was getting from these murders, she told the police that her motive was to find the perfect mate. That she has read about in all the magazines, because at the end of the day, she just wanted a perfect mate, and we know that that's really not the issue here, is that she was just a psychopath because, you know, Samuel didn't beat the shit out of her, didn't drink, was not an alcoholic, didn't cheat on her, but all he wanted was her to read and listen to and watch educational things, which could have been met with a compromise, but nope, rat poison, arsenic. So she was clearly just a psychopath, and then saying her motive was to find the perfect mate was, I don't know, just something to tell the police, or just something that she thought she was doing. I don't know. She's pants crapping crazy, so there's that. Now, the deaths of her husband weren't immediately investigated because they all had underlying conditions. A lot of them were, you know, severe alcoholics who drank heavily every day. So, you know, that shit'll kill you quickly, you know, quicker than you would imagine. So they weren't really investigated until Samuel Adams, when his doctor became suspicious after he was getting better, and then goes home and suddenly just dies. So on May 17th of 1955, she finally pleads guilty. This time she pleads guilty to killing her husbands as well as her family members, her mother, sister, grandson, and mother-in-law. But the state of Oklahoma, where she was being tried in, did not focus on the other murders. They only focused on the murder of Samuel Doss. What's up, Oklahoma represent? She did not get the death penalty because she was a woman, and this was the 50s. And while serving her life sentence for Samuel's murder, in 1964, Nanny Doss, the Giggling Granny, dies of leukemia in Oklahoma State Penitentiary. And that is the story of the family killer Nanny Doss, and also known as the Giggling Granny, the Black Widow, or the Lonely Hearts Killer. Yeah, that's crazy. Pants crapping crazy, man. She was out here murdering people left and right, and nobody suspected a thing. Like, I guess anyone who probably did suspect it, she probably murdered, but, you know, there's literally death in this woman's wake. You know, it would be weird not to be like, hey, a lot of people around you keep dying. We should talk about that. Boom, you're rat poison. Don't even know what to do. Bleeding out your eyeballs, bleeding out your nose, bleeding out your mouth. Fucking liver's failing, you're hemorrhaging, you're going into cardiac arrest. Nothing we can do about you. It was also the 1950s, so people really like didn't care, or there just wasn't the forensics to, you know, you basically, when someone died, you went off like someone's word. Like, looks like a heart attack. It's a heart attack. Slap him up, get him in the ground. Fucking, we got another case to get on there, Johnson. So I understand why, and no one suspects a granny to murder their entire family. Also, the stabbing a newborn child in the head with a hat pin, that's rough. That makes my stomach turn. She was fucked up. She was a psychopath. Let me throw some wings on this look, and then we'll be right back. Hopefully it doesn't take me 30 minutes. I don't necessarily really like this look, to be honest with you. It turned out better than I thought it was going to, because I was really messing up the colors here. But I don't think it turned out really good, so sorry about that. Hey, quick question. How do you guys connect this wing? It's a fat fucking wing. We're gonna have to, how do you connect it on your lower and bottom lid without it looking weird? If you could let me know, that'd be great. Thank you. That wing does not look good, but whatever. Let's just wing it. You know what? We're just gonna call it good. These wings do not look great. One's bigger than the other. One's, oh God, no. Okay, let me take these off. If any of you ever let me go out in public like that, I will lose my mind. We won't be friends anymore. Now's the time in our show where we choose our murder for next week, this weekend, something like that. Okay, who do we got? Hey, I need you to start leaving names of murderers in the comments, because we gotta fill this bitch back up. We're running out of names here. This guy is jumping out at me. Who are you? Arthur Shawcross is our next murderer we are gonna cover. He's an American serial killer. And has a shitload of victims, actually. So that is what we're going to cover in this upcoming video. Sorry, with doing my ketamine treatments over the weekend, it's very hard for me to try to, like, get everything done all one weekend. I am getting treatment, though. It's hard, and the motivation to just not, to lay in bed all day is real. But we're getting treatments to help that. I'm starting some medication to try to combat that laziness, and I feel pretty good. So I'm going to try to get this out this weekend, like we used to back when all this first started. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you. Please, please, please leave the names of some murderers you want covered. The more gruesome, the better. Down in the comments here so we can fill this bad boy back up. I gotta find my note cards first. So once I find them, I will put the names you suggest down in the old murder pot. Also, if someone wants to make me those 2 jars so I can put the shade names in them, and that's how we pick our look, let a brother know, and I will give you specifications and shout you out. But as always, thank you for joining me for Crime and Cosmetics. I appreciate you. We're probably going to do a mukbang and murder next video. We usually do those about once a month. Thank you for your support. It means the absolute world to me. Also, I want to shout out Irish, who woke up at 6 a.m. To watch me stream Cyberpunk. You're a crazy bastard, but I love you. But thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for your support. It means the absolute world to me. If you would like to, you can join our coven. I will leave the link to that in the description of this video. I also have a P.O. box if you want to write letters. I will leave that in the description of this video as well. I would love to read them. I'll read them on air. I'm also going to put them in a big scrapbook so I can read them when my brain starts to hate itself. I love you all so very much. You are the best. Thank you so much for your support. Without you, none of this is possible. I hope I get to make this a lifelong, like, my job, so I can do this for realsies and actually, like, go on tour and meet you guys. That would be amazing. I've already told people in my TikTok lives that if it does ever get to that point and we do a tour, we're gonna do meet and greet stuff. But you're not gonna be able to pay for meet and greet passes. You're going to have to go to a park with me and clean up trash, and that will be the meet and greet. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. I will see you guys again soon, where we discuss Mr. Arthur Cross. I'm also going to be doing a makeup giveaway here soon, so be on the lookout for that. I love you guys so much. I hope you have the best day ever and all the good things happen to you. Be kind to others. Most of all, please, please, please be kind to yourself, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.